In agile methodology, testing plays a very vital role. It starts from the very beginning and it is repetitive. That is why it becomes challenging also. Hence, we need automation and a tool which will help us in the process. One such predominantly used open source automation tool is Selenium. Selenium core was first introduced in the year 2004, and after that at around 2009, Selenium WebDriver component came into picture. And since its inception, it has been very popular and widely used. Hi, welcome to Automation Quick. I am Monalisa Panda. Here we will be discussing about automation tools and related languages. Today we will talk about Selenium WebDriver architecture of one of the most important component of Selenium, that is Selenium WebDriver. So WebDriver internally has four components: Selenium client library, this is otherwise known as language binding; JSON web protocol, this is just a transfer mechanism to transfer data between the client and server; then browser drivers, they help in simulating the commands on real browsers; and fourth is real browsers on which application under test will be there. So let's discuss about each component in detail. The first component, client library. Selenium has an inbuilt language called Selenium. Along with that, Selenium also supports multiple other languages like Java, C#, JavaScript, Python, PHP, Ruby, etc. And this multiple language support is possible because of the component client library. Client library convert the commands written in different languages into JSON data. A JSON data, JSON payload and a URL associated with it, means into a REST API format. Every command you write in your code, like browser.get URL, irrespective of the language in which you have written, it will be converted into a JSON payload format by the client library. Thus, Selenium becomes language independent. Doesn't support all the languages in the world, however it supports all the predominantly used languages in our world. So for example, here we will be having our automation script. In the client library, we will convert those commands written in each line in our automation script into a REST API format data, JSON payload with a URL associated with it. Now comes the second component, that is JSON web protocol. So JSON web protocol is nothing, just a transfer mechanism which helps transfer data between client and server. So here is client is our JSON converted data, our automation commands converted into JSON format, and server is our browser drivers. Here comes the third component, browser specific driver. Browser drivers help in simulating instructions provided in our automation scripts directly on real browsers. Each browser, real browser, is having their specific browser specific driver. Like Chrome will be having Chrome driver, Opera will be having Opera driver, IE will be having Gecko driver, and these browser specific drivers are provided by the browser companies. Chrome has provided Chrome specific browsers so that the Selenium automation test engineers can include those specific drivers in their code without worrying about the internal implementation of the Chrome. Before the introduction of Selenium WebDriver, we were having Selenium RC. So in Selenium RC, they were trying to inject Selenium core, a JavaScript code into the browser, and that Selenium core was controlling the simulation on the real browsers. However, in browser WebDriver, that doesn't happen. We do not need any extra specific server or JavaScript code that needs to be injected into our browser. Only this browser specific driver can simulate the commands on the browsers without worrying about the internal logic of the browser. And the communication between the browser and browser specific drivers happen via HTTP GET and POST method. Selenium supports almost all browsers like Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Internet Explorer, headless browsers like Phantom browser, HTML unit browser, etc. So browsers are the real browsers on which even if we have to test an application manually, we have to open that application, we have to enter that URL on our real browsers, then we have to test it. Similarly, the browser drivers will try to open that application automatically on the browsers and will try to simulate our commands. Now I'll try to summarize whatever we have discussed in the slide. Like the first, here we will be having our automation test script, automation commands written in Java, C#, Ruby, etc. Selenium client library. Once our test is triggered, complete Selenium code, our client, which we have written, will be converted into JSON data through Selenium client library. Now this generated JSON data will be sent to the browser driver through JSON web protocol. Browser driver will now communicate with specific browsers and execute the commands by interpreting the received JSON through the transfer mechanism. Browser drivers again receive the response back from the real browsers in JSON format. The transfer between the browser drivers and browsers happen through HTTP GET and POST method. Once they receive the response back, once the browser drivers receive the response back from the browsers, they will again send it back to the automation code through JSON web protocol and Selenium client library. Now the automation code is having the response back. It will compare the expected and actual result and will make a test as pass or failure accordingly. So this is how Selenium WebDriver behaves in the backend, how every command written in our code is behaving in the backend. If you have any queries, please post it in the comment box. Your suggestion also I will love to hear. Thank you.